A thread by J.B. White. As our national civics lesson continues to unfold on its march toward our 59th presidential inauguration on January 20th, 2021, or thereabouts, it seems, as President Donald Trump's second term approaches, I remain a happy warrior, confident of righteous victory. I write today of how my theory, okay, regarding his secret counterintelligence, hereinafter CI, military campaign, a great unmasking on the whole of government with respect to foreign interference, has been carried out to total success. Rest assured, a similar CI operation has been undertaken with our corporate entities, especially big tech. Chinese Communist Party influence is being systematically rooted out by a revolutionary president during a revolutionary moment in American and world history. The focus today, our three branches of government. It has me dwelling this Sunday morning upon a concept I'll coin as the law of imperfectibility. Among humanity, a species incapable of attaining perfection, responsibilities may be shouldered by many. But what of decision-making? Said law of imperfectibility, my friends, ultimately reduces down to this fact. There can only be one. This is the year of the American lion. One American lion in particular. Respect must be paid. Because our number one American lion wants everyone to know ain't no damn body playing around with y'all this time. This is for real. And y'all barely know the deal, bitches. American lions, apex predators on the world stage, are on the prowl. They are the reckoning. And they have no time for or tolerance of hyenas. Billy badass lions like Flynn, Sessions, Rosenstein, Pence, Pompeo, and others. And Betty badass lions like Sidney Powell, too. Absolutely positively tired of the shiznit and on the damn prowl. In fact, they quite rightly have a disdain for anyone or anything they encounter on this mission, acting all hyena-like. I'm thinking about Congress right about now, federal agencies too, and our judges. The whole of government, all three branches subservient to their masters, we, the people, subservient to us via our world historic Constitution. Far too many people inside and outside of government seem to have forgotten. Thus, this counterintelligence, whole of government military campaign, a classic Green Beret special operations mission. De oppresso liber, to free the oppressed. The difference is that this special operations train, advise, and equip mission occurs on the American homeland in service to the duly elected president of the nation who is attempting to restore fidelity to the Constitution. And the government that is being buoyed, supported, and defended is that of we the people against infiltrators, influencers who feel no need to respect our God-given rights. These influencers have successfully turned elements within all three branches of government, including select leaders within our military, into whores. And not just your average ordinary whores, no. As I wrote in American Greatness before I truly realized the full extent of the problem, bottom bitches. Link in the thread to American Greatness, The Bottom Bitches by J.B. White. So many wannabe pimps who are nothing more than bottom bitches themselves to the globalist elites who, likewise, are nothing more than bottom bitches for that godless theology, communism, masquerading as an ideology, socialism. Employing the shape-shifting serpent's whisper, they fooled useful idiots for decades in America by lurking as a hidden movement, progressivism. And they've all been bottom bitches for whom? That's right, the Chinese Communist Party. But they've been no match for our American lion, our commander-in-chief. This is primarily true because of Trump's thorough preparatory work before deciding to run for president and taking that dramatic ride down the escalator at Trump Tower in New York City. Additionally, his subsequent partnership with General Flynn and the dual expertise of one, our Defense Intelligence Agency, and two, our Military Special Operations Command were crucial components in his STAR effort, Save the American Republic. And there is a major tool that has been successfully utilized in this fight. Project Maven. As a DoD artificial intelligence and machine learning pathfinder, Project Maven has always been focused on building a revolutionary 21st century product delivery pipeline. You can read all about it here. Big Data at War, Special Operations Forces, Project Maven, and 21st Century Warfare, mwi.usma.edu, link in the thread. That article was co-written by the current commander of the United States Special Operations Command, General Richard D. Clark. Once you read the bio of this Billy Badass, you'll better understand why these communistic bastards never stood a chance against us. Not an Ivy League graduate, check. Company commander of the 75th Ranger Regiment, check. Battalion commander in the 75th Ranger Regiment, check. Regimental commander of the 75th Ranger Regiment, check. Are y'all getting the picture yet? And commander of the famous All-American Division, the 82nd Airborne, yeah, check. All in all, Clark has led soldiers at a variety of Army units in 5 different divisions and the 173rd Airborne Brigade in the US, Europe, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The hidden providential beauty of this soldier being in command of special operations at this moment is simple. We're in a revolutionary moment of world history with massive technological change affecting our everyday life. Big tech globalist overlords are making their play for total control. And here's this grunt from Pensacola, Florida suburb of Mobile, Alabama. Smile, Bama, smile. Who knows what big tech is capable of when used for good, which means he knows its capability to suffocate liberty. He personally knows of tech advances, reprocessing, exploitation, and dissemination, PED, of insights gained from full motion video, FMV, categorizing intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, assets. He knows of the advances made by modern technology via specially trained algorithms searching for, identifying, and cataloging objects of interest, and that they are hard for the ordinary American to fathom. He also knows the Chinese are quite involved in the tech race. For instance, an example of the advancing speed. In 2011, drones, quote, sent back over 327,000 hours, or 37 years, of FMV full motion video footage. In 2017, Central Command's collected amount jumped to, quote, 325,000 feature films, approximately 700,000 hours, or 80 years of FMV footage. He has seen our invisible enemy, the CCP, exacerbate our societal issues via a flow of illicit money, allowing for great violence to be perpetrated by the drug cartels, and how this has overwhelmed the ability of American law enforcement agencies to contain illegal activities. He has likely seen the next Netflix show, Ozark, where a financial advisor drags his family from Chicago to the Missouri Ozarks, where he launders $500 million in 5 years to appease a drug boss. But he knows it's not the Mexicans calling the shots, it's our invisible enemy. He has surely seen the CCP threaten to undermine the totality of our law enforcement and legal system. He's also aware of the CCP manufacturing and dumping the incredibly powerful drug fentanyl in every corner of our nation. He can't be satisfied with this wrongdoing. In other words, he's fully aware the CCP has declared war on us. He's fully aware our law enforcement agencies have needed access to expensive hardware such as the radars, ships, and airplanes operated by our military. He knows the Posse Comitatus Act was amended in 1981 over the objections of some elements within big military to allow the military to support civilian law enforcement agencies and the Coast Guard. He knows the act continues to bar military personnel from directly participating in law enforcement activities such as searching or arresting civilians, but it allows the provision of certain assistance to law enforcement, such as the use of intelligence gathering assets. As General Clark noted in his article, a special operations task force in Iraq and Afghanistan adopted a little-known concept, a joint interagency task force, which is a, quote, model for whole-of-government problem-solving, end quote. An American government has a problem. Whole-of-government problem-solving. Military operations. Landing teams, anyone? From Clark. By fostering, quote, organizational collaboration, it seeks to overcome the tendencies of agencies to seek autonomy rather than interagency collaboration, end quote. Okay, cool by me. Go ahead, boy. Go ahead. Thus, following my counterintelligence military campaign theory, once inaugurated, Trump has select foot soldiers, only a few are needed as force multipliers, burrow into the government as representatives of the chief executive, as the Constitution permits. Then implement the military campaign, which was war-gamed prior to Trump's announcement of his candidacy. This would be done to counter the, as anticipated, rather public resistance cells within the federal government strategically and illegally placed by Obama, Inc. Here is where I think it pays to ominously take note of the naivete and duplicity of Obama, Inc. via a curious action by the Obama administration as it exited governing. Any agreement formalized during the Obama administration with China has to be scrutinized carefully. Paraphrasing Secretary Johnson in his 2017 DHS exit memo, DHS and our interagency partners have established a cybersecurity relationship with China as a result of President Obama securing an agreement with China in September 2015. Link in the thread obamawhitehouse.archives.gov, exit memo, Department of Homeland Security. This leads to another Betty badass lion, J.E. Dyer. In a brilliant early September post, she discussed the main effort being employed by 45, President Trump, in his campaign to rectify the great wrong done by massive fraud, all to avert a coup against constitutional government in America. Do read the post for yourself. All of her stuff is outstanding. For me, all of her writings on this topic need to be viewed from the prism of Trump's unmasking exercise, all of which is an effort to get us to see the invisible enemy. Link in the thread to Liberty Unyielding, J.E. Dyer. In Trump's campaign to save the Republic, we haven't seen the key supporting effort yet. JB continues. By now, y'all know whom I'm certain the invisible enemy is and the invisible theology they espouse. Dyer may or may not have properly phrased the actions involving the various battleground state legislatures as constituting a dog and pony show. Whatever the case, it's a substantive show designed to engage us and to get the sovereign states to hear evidence in a forum that brings legislatures before their constituents to confront the evidence publicly. In other words, to face the nation with what just happened. One key element to that main effort involving sovereign state legislatures, she writes, is a focus on legal actions in court. Again, This is a primary unmasking exercise of the CI campaign designed to cast sunshine on an overly secularized system that now lords over us. By now, we've all seen the absolutely remarkable intransigence the various courts have displayed to complaints of obvious vote fraud and wrongdoing. It can be accurately said they've danced a dismissive and insulting jig on these matters, tantamount to spitting in our faces. This fact has been made all the more egregious given the 4 years of activism where individual federal judge after individual federal judge has dared to impose national injunctions on the plenary powers of President Donald Trump. Of most importance to me, Dyer wrote of a third effort, one for which we may discern the potential without having yet seen specific evidence. It is, she writes, the one Hollywood would make a movie out of. It's about concrete particulars, clashing interests, and action. I agree. Check her tweets out at OptimisticCon, but read the article too. From libertyunyielding.com, J.E. Dyer, the key supporting effort appears to be underway on Trump's operational timeline. Link in the thread. JB continues, we've already seen at least one scene from that movie. That fly landed on Pence during his debate with Kamala Harris. That was a nano drone, y'all. Pence and Trump trolled everybody at that moment. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Link in the thread, youtube.com, fly lands on Vice President Pence during debate. Back to J.E. Dyer. After all, Dyer writes, the premise of the key supporting effort is that the U.S. government has been making use of tools we know damn well it has to gather intelligence on conditions that pose an obvious threat to U.S. national security. Further, she writes, there are several such conditions, and some of them, unfolding domestically, might have been picked up by law enforcement months ago, if not earlier. Not might, I'd say, and not months earlier. Years earlier. From Dyer, quote, planning to move ballots from one state to another, potentially an interstate conspiracy to commit vote fraud, would be one such condition. There are others, mostly involving planning and funding, that would cross state lines, end quote. Obvious illegalities. From Dyer, quote, just the information in my last 9 paragraphs, even with nothing else included, is enough to justify the kind of electronic information retrieval and surveillance the American public knows the U.S. government is well able to undertake, end quote. Let me paraphrase them. A, Smartmatic voting software company and Venezuela. Prior to 2016, Democrats were as apt to be concerned about it as Republicans. Indeed, as recently as 2018, Democrats like Elizabeth Warren pointed out undeniable vulnerabilities in their software, allowing vote tampering. B, Smartmatic software is used across America. In Colorado, the very vulnerabilities of the systems to on-site tampering were touted as a feature and not a bug. It has been well known that these weaknesses are present in hundreds of voting machines used across America. C, the point of this third line of effort, quote, is that the vulnerability combined with its foreign connection could justifiably be seen as a national security issue. Persisting for years, it could well have been exploited for some time, end quote, with more to come. D, Dominion, quote, formed in Canada by a Canadian entrepreneur, began selling in the United States as a U.S. subsidiary of the Canadian company. Nothing particular would necessarily be alarming about that, end quote. But there is at least one interceding factor that does raise alarms. U.S. voting systems were rather oddly added to the list of critical national infrastructure at the very end of the Obama administration. Dominion then went on a tear, getting hundreds of its machines installed across the country between January 2017 and the midterm election of November 2018. In this period, the U.S. subsidiary of Dominion was bought out by Staple Street Capital, a private equity firm started by veterans of the Washington Insider, very insider, Carlyle Group, and Cerberus Capital. Globalists of the deep state. F. In September 2019, a debt instrument filing in Canada showed that a number of patents involving the software that facilitates vote manipulation in Dominion machines had remained with the Canadian parent company and had been used as collateral to borrow from HSBC Canada. G. HSBC, of course, has long been a usual suspect in international money laundering and involvement in financing drug cartels, terrorism, and arms proliferation. That alone is enough to perk up an honest FBI or Homeland Security analyst. HSBC has sold out to the Chinese Communist Party. Letter I. But about a year later, the Staple Street Capital firm launched a new private equity line, Staple Street Capital 3, which engaged as its placement agent UBS Securities Company Limited, a subsidiary of the Swiss bank UBS that is 75% owned by the government of China. UBS Securities' role in the transaction was to raise funds for the new private equity line. It obligingly did so to the tune of $400 million, according to a filing with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission on 8 October 2020. Letter J. No, this move does not equate to, quote, China buying Dominion voting systems, but it does equate to China getting awfully close to Dominion, bearing cash. Luckily, there is no such thing in this CI investigation as the assumption that separate equity lines run by the same people are magically sequestered from each other in terms of monetary influence. In late December, Dyer indicated that Donald Trump's key supporting effort had now begun. Link in the thread. She reminded readers the key supporting effort is an adjunct to Trump's main effort to, in effect, cure the 2020 vote and restore law and order to America. From Dyer, quote, the gist of the key supporting effort is that it involves intelligence collection, principally through IT cyber means, on the entities behind the electronic vote tampering via voting systems in the 2020 election. Check this out. Quote, due to the changing nature of warfare and the growing importance of cyberspace to national security, President Donald J. Trump announced in August 2017 that Cybercom would be elevated to a unified combatant command in 2018. Link in the thread to defense.gov. Commander discusses a decade of DoD cyber power. Quote, to bring cyber power to bear, Army General Paul M. Nakasone, who is also the director of the National Security Agency, and chief of the Central Security Service, leads a 133-team cyber mission force across all military services, end quote. Oh my. Quote, 13 teams to defend against the most significant cyber threats to the nation, 68 teams to defend DoD networks and systems against threats, 27 teams to conduct integrated cyberspace attacks, and 25 teams to provide analytic and planning support. Part of Cybercom's success is due to its close and enduring partnership with NSA, Nakasone noted. Quote, as the leader of both organizations, I see the speed, agility, and unity of effort that can be brought to bear against hard problems, end quote from Nakasone. The command's most recent initiative is the Cyber 9 line, an online portal with the National Guard to enable states and counties to quickly diagnose malware software which has been designed to operate in a malicious, undesirable manner within their networks. Look out, CCP. Cyber 9 line provides Cybercom with 1. The date and time of the incident. 2. Classification of the information's sensitivity. 3. Information about critical infrastructure and key resources affected. 4. The attack's origin. 5. A rating of severity. 6. A narrative of the incident. 7. Request for support escalation. 8. Associated reporting. And 9. Indicators of compromise. Quote, this cooperation and feedback provides local, state, and DoD partners with a holistic view of threats occurring in the U.S. and abroad, said Army General William Hartman, Cybercom's Election Security Group lead and Cyber National Mission Force commander. End quote. Did I mention that General Hartman is a former infantry platoon leader with the 82nd Airborne Division and S2 in the 75th Ranger Regiment? That's where General Clark is also from. Hartman, quote, dealing with a significant cyber incident requires a whole of government defense. Bidirectional lines of communication and data sharing enables the collective effort to defend elections, end quote. There's that whole of government thing again. Are y'all beginning to smell what the Trump team, under what was likely lead consultation with General Flynn, cooked up when they put together their 2016-2017 transition landing teams and proceeded to govern? Or how those September 2018 executive orders are militarily important, or how Cyber 9 Line, a portal with the National Guard created to benefit the sovereign states, might involve the President of the Senate and Senator to all 50 sovereign states, Mike Pence. Cyber 9 Line, ladies and gentlemen, is something of an unclassified platform. I draw attention to this fact to highlight something to ponder. The classified platforms available to the NSA and the DIA as part of this counterintelligence operation must be stunning. Now, how might 45, once in office, cloak his counterintelligence military campaign? Well, they quite rightly suspected big military of being compromised by the Obama administration. Question, what to do given that likelihood? Answer, use the Special Operations Command. Does that very emotional response from now acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller, when introducing Mike Pence at the one-year celebration of Space Force, begin to make much more sense now? Watch from the 18-minute, 27-second mark of the video through the 20-minute mark. I believe we're talking about the Christopher Miller quote when he got all emotional, but I want to make absolutely certain of this. I don't have sound turned on for this, so you can't hear it, but check it out, link in the thread. Our revolutionary president has rewarded Cybercom. I'll show why in a minute. DoD has 11 combatant commands, each with a mission that provides command and control of military forces in peace and war. Cyber Command is now, thanks to 45, 1 in the number. Link in the thread, defense.gov, combatant commands. And as he revolutionizes our military, reward a forward-thinking Space Force for a secret classified job well done. By making it an independent military service force similar within the Air Force as the United States Marine Corps is to the Navy. And you most definitely reward the United States Special Operations Command. Faithful to their duty, one of their number, Christopher Miller, a retired Army colonel, not general, is now the Secretary of Defense. And the United States Special Operations Command has now been made essentially equal with the other 6 military branches. From military.com in shakeup, acting SecDef elevates special operations to be on par with the other branches of the armed forces. Link in the thread. As an aside, their fact book is a damn good read. link in the thread, to socom.mil/factbook, link in the thread. Now, thinking back to classified and unclassified matters and what I've called the STAR mission, Save the American Republic, STAR, I'll quickly pivot to this unclassified U.S. Cyber Command Technical Challenge. Link in the thread, caecommunity.org/news/ I believe U.S. Cyber Command Technical Challenge Problems Guidance. I'm far too deep into this thread already, but if you download the attachment found on that link, it's an eye-opening read. My extrapolation from that unclassified document: we were very prepared for the wrongdoing in the 2018 midterms. Not only were we prepared in 2018, we documented the wrongdoing and prepared a plan for 2020 based upon their wrongdoing actions. That plan will lead to certain convictions for actions taken in the November 2020 elections. Further, because of clear modifications to the Posse Comitatus Act, there are no substantive legal actions likely to be had in opposition to the electronic surveillance of wrongdoers or the likely FISA permissions sought from the FISA court. In fact, it is just such whole-of-government actions statutorily permitted by Congress that likely permitted the seamless DOJ, DOD, National Guard, plus local and state law enforcement interactions that will prove to be so formidable in the forthcoming prosecutions. From justice.gov, quote, DOJ monitors jurisdictions in the field on Election Day and is again doing so this year. We will also take complaints from the public nationwide regarding possible violations of the federal voting rights laws through its call center, link in the thread. 44 separate jurisdictions publicly identified. Any in the supposedly battleground states? Fulton County, Georgia, check. Maricopa County, Arizona, check. Philadelphia County, Pennsylvania, check. City of Detroit, Michigan, check. City of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, check. Trump landslide, y'all. And Democrat business as usual retail politics in urban America, it's about to be gutted. They stupidly gave him everything he wanted. What did he want, you say? Prosecutable proof with government agents watching, documenting, reporting. What are the odds, I wonder, that DIA and Cybercom had teams aside to those 44 locations working with the DOJ, some of them prior participants in Cybercom's technical challenges, looking for abnormal activities on land or in cyberspace? I'd say 100%, wouldn't you? Yeah. These clowns are well and truly screwed. I'll close out addressing a matter of continued importance to me and many, many other Americans as well. During Trump's first term, there has been a strong concern from many that IG investigations, Inspector General investigations, were being used to whitewash matters or to legitimize bogus James Comey FBI narratives over the truthful narrative of an Obama-era DOJ out of control. Bring the pain, John Durham. Their bad deeds blatantly conducted a sham Hillary Clinton unsecured communications investigation by employing a series of underhanded schemes: A, refusing to open a grand jury investigation; B, denying the FBI ability to compel the production of critical evidence; C, granting immunity to any suspect who appeared guilty and might otherwise have been incentivized to cooperate against Clinton; D, imposing ludicrous restrictions on the FBI's interviews of witnesses and examination of physical evidence; E, permitting subjects of the investigation who had received immunity agreements to appear as counsel for the main subject of the investigation in violation of ethical rules and federal law; F, leaking information to the press that suggested Clinton and her Confederates were cooperative and had no intent to harm the United States, which was not the legal standard for criminal liability; and G, a furtive meeting on an airport tarmac between the Attorney General herself and President Bill Clinton, the spouse of the main subject of the investigation, only days before Mrs. Clinton submitted to a perfunctory FBI interview and was proclaimed, if not innocent by Comey, situated in such a way that no reasonable prosecutor would advance a case against her. That was an incredibly odd pronouncement from the head of a law enforcement agency and a non-prosecutor. Yes, this American remembers, and this American waits for justice for the perpetrators of these and other outrageous crimes associated with said perpetrators. Finally, make sure you read this very important January 1st thread today from data analyst Bobby Pitton. Unmask them all. Every damn one of them. Thanks for listening to this lengthy but super important thread. I join you now from Johnson City, Tennessee at the lovely Carnegie Hotel and Spa. Travel and tourism have been just decimated by the government abuse of the citizens in the pandemic. So I've been making a point of going to non-chain places to eat, to lodge. This is a gorgeous 4-star hotel. It's $100 a night in Tennessee. It's cheap. Absolutely cheap. So just wanted to let you know that. If you aren't able to go to Washington, D.C. on the 5th and 6th, coming right up, and you'd like to support my trip, the donation links are in the description. Thanks for listening.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.